Today is Wednesday, August 23rd, 2023, and this is the Dunkley Report. A conservative attorney who pushed a plan to keep Donald Trump in power has turned himself in to authorities on charges in the Georgia case, alleging an illegal plot to overturn the then-president's 2020 election loss. John Eastman was booked at the Fulton County Jail Tuesday. Eastman is charged alongside Trump and 17 others, who are accused by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis with scheming to subvert the will of Georgia voters in a desperate bid to keep the Republican president in the White House after he lost to Democrat Joe Biden. Eastman says the indictment should never have been brought. Army commandos using helicopters and a makeshift chairlift rescued 8 people from a broken cable car as it dangled hundreds of feet above a canyon in Pakistan. Authorities said the rescues were completed late Tuesday in a remote, mountainous part of the country. The 6 children and 2 adults became trapped when a cable snapped while they were crossing a river canyon. The children were on their way to school. The Pakistani Prime Minister congratulated rescuers for the success. The dramatic effort transfixed the country for hours as Pakistanis crowded around televisions in offices, shops, restaurants, and hospitals. Newly released video shows the 98-year-old mother of a Kansas newspaper publisher confronting police officers as they searched her home in a raid that has drawn national scrutiny. It shows her visibly upset and demanding, "Get out of my house." Video released by the newspaper Monday shows Joan Meyer shouting at the 6 officers inside of the Marion, Kansas, home that she shared with her son. She died the day after the raids of the Marion County Record and the homes of the Meyers, as well as a Marion City Council member. Eric Meyer says the stress contributed to her death. Donald Trump's response this week to his 4th criminal indictment in 5 months follows a strategy he has used for years against legal and political opponents: relentless attacks, often infused with language that is either overtly racist or is coded in ways that appeal to racists. The former Republican president and 2024 candidate has repeatedly hinted at race in his verbal broadsides. The district attorneys in New York and Georgia who have charged him with state crimes are black. The tendency to make such attacks both animates his base and raises safety concerns among advocates who worry he could be worsening online vitriol and inspiring violence. The union representing 340,000 UPS workers says its members voted to approve the tentative contract agreement reached last month. The vote results announced Tuesday put a final seal on contentious labor negotiations that threaten to disrupt package deliveries for millions of businesses and households nationwide. The Teamsters said that 86% of the votes cast were in favor of ratifying the national contract. Voting on the new 5-year contract began August 3rd and concluded Tuesday. After negotiations broke down in early July, UPS reached a tentative contract agreement with the Teamsters just days before an August 1st deadline. Governor Ron DeSantis's appointees to a board that oversees Disney World's governing district have launched a battle against the company on a new front: free passes and discounts for employees. Board members already are involved in 2 lawsuits with Disney. In the latest incident, board members of the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District submitted a complaint to the State Inspector General on Monday. They claim that the millions of dollars in season passes, as well as discounts on hotels, merchandise, food, and beverages that their Disney-supporting predecessors provided employees of the governing district amount to unethical benefits and perks. An ambitious but failed attempt by Russia to return to the moon after nearly half a century has exposed the massive challenges faced by Moscow's once proud space program. The crash of the robotic Luna 25 probe on the surface of the moon over the weekend reflects the problems that have dogged Russia's space industry since the 1991 collapse of the Soviet Union. Those include the loss of key technologies in the post-Soviet industrial meltdown, the bruising impact of Western sanctions, a huge brain drain, and widespread corruption. Yuri Borisov, head of the Roscosmos space agency, blamed the lack of expertise due to the long break in lunar research that followed the last Soviet mission to the moon in 1976. 8 candidates are expected on stage at the first Republican presidential primary debate, but one of them might not be able to make it. The candidates the Republican National Committee announced for Wednesday night's debate in Milwaukee include Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, and ex-Vice President Mike Pence. North Dakota, Governor Doug Burgum qualified but hurt himself playing basketball Tuesday and went to a hospital. Former President Donald Trump is the primary's early front-runner and says he'll skip the debate. At least 3 candidates who thought they'd qualified were excluded. One of them is conservative radio host Larry Elder, who's threatening to sue the RNC. The head of Russia's space agency says the Luna 25 spacecraft crashed into the moon after its engines failed to shut down correctly. He blamed the country's decades-long pause in lunar exploration for the mishap. The pilotless Luna 25 had been scheduled to land Monday, while aiming to become the first spacecraft to touch down on the moon's south pole. Roscosmos Director General Yuri Borisov said Monday that the spacecraft's engines were turned on over the weekend to put Luna 25 into a pre-landing orbit, but didn't shut down properly, plunging the lander onto the moon. He said, "The negative experience of interrupting the lunar program for almost 50 years is the main reason for the failures." Spain's acting prime minister has greeted the country's Women's World Cup champions at the presidential palace in Madrid and slammed the head of the Spanish Soccer Federation for kissing a team member on the lips without her consent. Pedro Sanchez announced that the team members will be awarded Spain's Golden Medal of Sports Achievement in honor of their victory. Sanchez then joined the growing criticism of the unsolicited kiss given by Spanish Soccer Federation President Luis Rubiales to a player following Sunday's final in Australia. Late Tuesday, the Spanish Soccer Federation announced it will hold an emergency meeting of its General Assembly on Friday. It is unclear if Rubiales can maintain the backing of the leaders of Spain's regional soccer organizations. Today's news was reported by the Associated Press. This has been the World News for Wednesday, August 23, 2023. Thanks again for joining us at the Dunkley Report.